Fly Free by Roseanne Thong. Fly free. It was early morning, and the sun had just risen round and red as a parasol. The earth under Mai's toes was cool, but the sun's first rays cast a warm, golden glow on pagoda eaves. Mai looked for the familiar cage of sparrows for sale by the temple gates. The birds twittered with excitement, bobbing their comical heads like tiny puppets. "May I feed them?" she asked the vendor. "Of course," he said. "You seem to speak their language." As much as Mai loved to visit the birds, she hoped someone would pay for their release. This was the Buddhist way. To set an animal free was a good deed. She would have freed them herself, but the cost was more than her mother could spare. Mai eased small bowls of seed and water into the cage. "Shush, shush! Shush, shush!" Mai heard the sound of slippers nearby. They were red velvet and belonged to a girl named Thu. When Thu took them off, as was the custom before entering a temple, Mai could not help but stare. She had never seen such a beautiful pair of shoes. Mai waited for Thu by the temple door and smiled when she came out. "The sparrows are hungry," said Mai. "Would you like to help feed them?" Thu nodded as she poured seed into the outstretched hand. Then Mai whispered softly, fly free, into the sky so blue. When you do a good deed, it will come back to you." On her way home that day, Thu noticed a girl sitting by the roadside, cradling her foot in her hands. She had been cut by a sharp piece of glass, and the wound stung like an animal's bite. "My friend," Thu called to a girl, "please take these slippers. They'll help ease your pain." The girl looked up in disbelief. The shoes were the rich red color of pomegranates, and the velvet was new and uncrushed. She put them on and nodded her thanks as Thu sang out, fly free, in a sky so blue. When you do a good deed, it will come back to you." The next morning, the girl's foot was much better. One of her daily chores was drawing water from a well at the edge of town. With her new shoes on, she easily shouldered 2 heavy buckets of cool spring water that slished and sloshed as she walked. On the way home, she passed Onghai, the ox cart driver, asleep in the shade of a bayan tree. "He'll be thirsty when he wakes up," she thought. She quietly approached his cart, dipped her coconut shell into the cool, sweet water, and left it on the seat beside him. When Onghai woke up, his throat was parched. To his surprise, a cool drink awaited him. But who had been so kind? Looking down the lane behind him, a girl's song faded into the midday dust. Fly free, in a sky so blue. When you do a good deed, it will come back to you. Later that day, Onghai saw an old woman hobble down the road, balancing a basket of cakes high on top of her head. "Do you need a ride to the market?" called Onghai. "Yes," said the woman, "but I have no money." "Hop in," said Onghai. "I'll trade a ride for one of your cakes. They look delicious." "That they are," the woman replied. "I made them myself from an old family recipe." Onkai savored the sweet coconut flavor during the ride to the market. When he left the woman off, he whistled a cheerful tune. Fly free in the sky so blue. When you do a good deed, it will come back to you. At market, business was brisk, and the woman soon sold out of cakes. She picked up her empty basket, bought a large sack of rice, and returned home. The next morning, she awoke to find a lone monk passing her house with his alms bowl in hand. It was breakfast time, and this was the monk's way of asking for food. The woman rushed out to the road with steaming rice for his bowl. It's simple but filling, she said. The monk nodded his thanks, his orange robe streaming behind him like the sun's rays. As he walked off, a song drifted on the morning breeze. Fly free in the sky so blue. When you do a good deed, it will come back to you. Touched by these words, the monk went to visit the home of a sick boy in the village. He treated the boy with acupuncture and chanted a river of words. The next day, the child had completely recovered. The happy father went to the temple to give his thanks. There, by the temple gates, he saw May tenderly feeding the sparrows, singing a familiar song. Fly free in the sky so blue. When you do a good deed, it will come back to you. At once, he understood how good deeds are passed from one person to the next. A wheel of kindness existed in people's hearts. It turned day and night through cities, villages, and countryside until it came back to its origin, making a full circle. Without hesitating, he gave the bird owner all the money he had with him. I'd like to free the sparrows, he said. The owner nodded at Mai. Her heart beat like the wings of 1,000 birds in flight as she opened the cage door. In a moment, her friends were gone. Then Mai called out as loudly as she could, fly free in a sky so blue.